She's here. She lives in Phillips. She has a cold from her vacation. We don't feel sorry for her. She was in Cook the County or wherever, so yeah. So it's like I understand. It's in care of the blood.
Just judged by the type of smaller.
I'm so out of it. I'm parked over
And actually, the money for debt proceeds, but it's going to be restricted. You know, the money you get taken, it's build building. That's not
Alrighty, we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you all for coming out tonight. And if you'll please stand with me, we'll open up with prayer and pledge. Dear Lord, thank you for the many blessings you've given us today. Thank you for the beautiful weather today and the rain, and just protect all those people in the mountains that are facing flood water. So maybe your will be done. Be with our police officers tonight and all our men and women in the service, protect them. Be with the council tonight and help us do the business of the town, give us the courage and wisdom to do what's best for the town. Everything we do and say, we all the praise and glory. In Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First up is our public comments, and so we have three. First is Robert Reagan. So if you just come up to the podium there, 3 minutes, give me your name and address.
Okay. Hi, Mayor. I'm Robert Reagan, 5000 Simmons Drive. Just have a couple of comments tonight, mainly pertaining to the development ordinance. I had a conversation with Ms. Hare in the planning office, and Mr. Sewell had her give me a call and try to explain some of the things that I saw in the development ordinance and explain why I was not right and that she was right. And I think we have to agree to disagree. So you don't want to talk about particularly mixed use 1 and 2 districts, which in your ordinance it says they're established to provide opportunities for compatible, sustainable redevelopment for underutilized commercial properties already exist, as well as infill sites, which I guess that big vacant lot would be an infill site, and opportunities for business, various housing designs, sharing community amenities and enhancement. Okay, and then under the purposes, if you if you look at the matrix, then where you have the by right uses on residential, when you get into multifamily, there's some limitations. You have some special conditions, and this is where I want to talk to these. The special conditions are on 10.1-24 multifamily development. And number 1 under item B, multifamily development shall not exceed a total of 72 dwelling units without separation of parcels by a public street or park. That's pretty important. And Ms. Hare and I disagreed on what a parcel was. I think if you look in the North Carolina general statutes, they define a parcel as basically a tax parcel. Okay, that's what they call it. And so she didn't think it was a tax parcel. She thought it was just kind of like maybe a piece of land somehow. I believe that it's pretty specific in the North Carolina code what a parcel is, and it's a tax parcel. And then the public street or park, she said, well, the parking lots, they would divide the parcels of those buildings, the pieces those buildings are on. Those are not public streets. This is very specific, a public street or a public park. So your ordinance is very specific, and yet Ms. Hare is trying to interpret that in a non-specific way. And so I see a problem with that. And then item 2, the multifamily development can have the density no more than 14.5 units per acre. Now you guys made an amendment to another part of the development ordinance where you changed that, but you didn't change it here. And your rules in the development ordinance are that the higher standard will apply in the case of, two disagreeing standards. So this is the standard. And item 7, notification of public meetings at which multifamily developments will be considered shall be provided to owners of all properties located within 250 feet of the property for which the development is proposed. And I know you haven't done that. That would include at least 20 more individual homeowners in the courtyards. It may actually touch the common land and the Chestnut. And so that's going to be bringing a lot more people into the notification, where you have to make notification before you did anything to do with multifamily, which I think maybe a court might say rezoning for a multifamily use might fall into this. So I just want to make that point. And then the other point I want to make is, as far as the posting in a newspaper, and putting things in the Monroe newspaper that nobody gets in this area. I tried to subscribe to it, and you can only subscribe to it by mail, so you can only get it a few days later by mail. Only 150 people in our zip code even subscribe to that paper. That doesn't meet the North Carolina requirements for general distribution. Something like this, everybody gets. So I would make a suggestion, maybe something like this would be better suited than using the Monroe paper, for Stallings. That's it. Thank you.
Well, I will give you an update with Mr. Reagan. If the town manager gives email, do you email everybody out, or do you just tell them that Melvin has this? So you've reviewed it and feel the town was in compliance of all of it?
I do.
Yeah. So if you want to pursue that, just make an appointment with the town manager or Lynn, and feel free to come on in and discuss it. Okay. Thank you. Next up is Neal.
Thank you very much. I'm a landowner, property owner, resident, taxpayer down Fair Forest Drive. We've been, sorry?
Your address, 3229?
Correct, yes.
Fair Forest.
We've lived in the area about 18 months, and I only heard about this development a couple of weeks ago, and I was frankly quite surprised. Why hadn't I heard about it before? Certainly the realtor brought it up as an issue when we questioned her. Maybe that was her fault, I don't know, but maybe she didn't know either. So I started digging a little bit more, and quite frankly, the whole process doesn't pass the sniff test in my mind. There's something untoward about how things are being done, the due process. And there's a quote from the Stallings mission statement. Public engagement is the hallmark of this project and provides the foundation for a successful plan implementation. Building strong relationships within the community is critical to making long-term change on an issue as complex, as multifaceted as community growth. Well, I felt ignored, and I'm sure I'm representative of many other residents in the area. As I said, I live down Fair Forest Drive. My son, he's 8 years old, he goes to Antioch Elementary. It takes him 12 minutes to go to drive him to that school every morning. 12 minutes. That's ridiculous. How is the development going to make that commute any faster or more efficient? I can't see that it would. There's just something not right about how this is being done, and I'm concerned. So, I'm representing probably many other people that have similar concerns, so I want it to be duly noticed by the council that there are concerns amongst the community that need to be listened to. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Neal. Thanks for coming out. Next up is Scott Dunn.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Mayor, I'm one of those residents that lives in the area of Mr. Reagan and Mr. Neal.
And your address, please.
I am at 3000 Strawberry Road.
Thanks, sir.
This is my first appearance before any kind of governing body. I've lived all over the United States, lived in Virginia, lived in Pennsylvania, lived in Oklahoma. I'm a vet. I was surprised by this pending development with Pappas and these apartment complexes in that intersection down there. That's right in my front yard. And I must say, I agree with Mr. Neal. I was surprised, and this doesn't seem right. It's hard to find the specifics of this development plan as to when and where exactly all this is going to happen. It's starting to turn my life upside down right now because I'm thinking I got to move. I don't want to be around all that construction for God knows how long. And the reason I told you that this is my first time here is because, for anybody, it's because of the magnitude of this thing. I lived in Northern Virginia for almost 10 years. And if any of you all have been outside of the Washington, D.C. area, the suburbs, that is uncontrolled growth. It's a madhouse up there. If you think Mecklenburg County is bad, go up to Northern Virginia, go to Fairfax County. The contractors and the builders have run rampant up there, and you can't even move. The cost of living is insane. There's plenty of jobs, but you're going to pay for it one way or the other. Long commutes, higher taxes, people everywhere. And one of the reasons I chose Union County to stay here and live here is because this was not Mecklenburg County. And I've never seen in a lot of the areas of my travels in this area, everybody seems to neglect the infrastructure. They might get a turning lane in 50 feet, but these builders are not held accountable. They don't put any roads in. We get promises about a traffic circle. There's no dates, there's no time, there's no commitment. That's going to severely impact the people in that area. Everybody's going to be cutting through our neighborhood for God knows how long. So my appeal to you is, can you give us some dates, and can you tell us if we have any recourse to pull back on some of this development? It's really going to get out of hand, and it's a nice quiet area. And I'm not saying we have to check all development and stop it, but it could be controlled and managed to a reasonable degree, I believe. And I would appreciate that consideration. And who knows, the 24th, keep that in mind when you do your vote. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Dunn. And then Karen Dunn.
I am Scott's wife. I'm at 3000 Strawberry Road too, and if you're not familiar with our neighborhood, 3000 Strawberry Road is the last house on Strawberry Road connecting with Chestnut. So we are right there. If you look at that small area plan, we have those apartments being built, when Scott said in our front yard, almost really in our front yard. And that 250 feet to notify people, we're probably in that 250 feet. We're definitely in the 250 feet for the apartments that are planned for the other side of Chestnut. Not the ones on the other side of Weddington Road where the power station is, but the ones that are planned for the corner of Chestnut and Weddington Road, across here. That's right, literally across the street from us. So this is really going to be in our yard. And the gentleman who said that it takes him so long to get his kid to Antioch, I could throw a rock to Antioch, but I could probably walk to Antioch faster than I could to drive to Antioch. Now, people, to avoid that intersection, and I know the circle's going to probably improve that somewhat, but Chestnut backs all the way up to Callenwood in the morning, people trying to get out through there. And adding more people, even a circle, is not going to alleviate that problem. So to avoid that intersection, people cut through Strawberry. I can't get out of my driveway in the morning. I sit there sometimes for 20 minutes trying to get out of my driveway with people cutting through Strawberry. How is any of that construction going to make any of that better? And my husband has just said, we've already talked to a real estate agent. Okay? I don't know if it's just a coincidence that one of the town council member who also lives in Chestnut already has her home up for sale. Maybe because she knows what's coming, maybe it is a coincidence, but I can tell you, as being a resident of Chestnut and being someone who our home and our home values are going to be the most affected, I've already met with a real estate agent. She said with that level of construction and that level of building all around your home particularly, your home value is going to drop. What I can get for right now, before any of this is decided, probably $50,000 less once all of that construction has started and that building has started. That's our major investment that we have in our lives. And it's going to be significantly devalued by a decision that is completely out of our control. I hope that this is not a rubber stamp yes already, and I hope that you will listen to us residents in Stallings. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dunn. Anybody else that didn't sign up that would like to speak?
My name is Joe Lachlan. I reside at 3205 Strawberry Road. I'm the president of the Chestnut HOA. Mayor was kind enough to relay to us that some of the points that we made in the letter to town council have been decided by Ms. Cox as being not as we had hoped. We would like to see some proof from the town attorney of the decision that was made, and we continue to challenge it. And we may be pushing further with other avenues to pursue this. And I'd just like to thank my neighbors for coming out and supporting us this evening. And thank the council again for their careful consideration. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Joe.
Hi there, my name is Sri Nagarajan. I live at 3006 Camrose Crossing Lane, Matthews, NC 28104. As I mentioned here, the last time I was here, I live 0.4 miles away from the property that we've been discussing for weeks now. And I appreciate on the record that a few of the council members have been super accessible, available, professional, and it's been a pleasure working with them. Unfortunately, there's been one council member that emailed me asking me why I was interested in this, almost accusing me of trying to find a flaw. I will say for the record that that is not my desire, that is not my intention. I'm offended when I get an email from somebody asking, you do not live in Stallings, why do you care about this? For all intents and purposes, I live in Stallings, I shop in Stallings, my taxes go there. That's how it works, right? So I want to request the council members to please consider that your neighbors are your neighbors. With that, I have three specific asks to the council. One, I have a pending request for additional information to educate myself about the issues pertaining to this project. It's been 2.5 weeks since I emailed the council. I actually emailed the town. I'm still awaiting the information. My understanding is that as of Monday this morning, the information has not yet been collected. I'm not an original. I'm trying to educate myself. I have heard all the issues and the arguments on both sides. And I'm trying to educate for myself what's true and what's not, because I live 0.4 miles down the street. As of this evening, I haven't heard back from the town. So my request to the town is to please not make any decision until the information requested under the FOIA Act is provided to me so that I can educate myself. Two, we spoke about traffic the last time. The traffic study was done the Thursday before the long weekend, before Thanksgiving last year. My request to the council is to consider asking that another TIA be executed, considering the actual data, the actual experience that we live through every day. You have heard anecdotal information. Get the experts out there to count the cars, whatever they do, on an actual day when traffic exists, not on a day when people leave to go out of town, right? I think my 8-year-old would agree with me that, actually she's not 13, would agree with me that if you stood at the corner of a street when there's no school, you're not going to count the cars. That's common sense. I hope the council will consider that. That's on traffic. Third, on the traffic calming that's in the proposal says that after the investments are made, the traffic quality is going to decline. Right? That's my understanding, unless I'm completely wrong. I can't think of another town that has agreed to vote on a project where you're introducing harm and burden to the community after approving for it. That just doesn't make sense. Something doesn't smell okay. We are not against new properties coming in. We're not against a retail. We're not against that plot of land being converted to something that adds economic value. All we're asking is to please work with us. Make us part of the solution. We are not the problem. We live here. We have invested our hard-earned money to buy our homes here, right? Please include us as part of the problem. Part of the solution. And I want to end by asking if the council can please consider on each of the issues that we have brought to your attention, all of the information that you have collected, both from the investors and by yourselves, and provided by us as the community. Put them on an Excel spreadsheet, put them on a Word document, so that we can see as a team what the claims are and what the counterclaims are. I'm not saying that our information is all going to be accurate all the time. I'm not suggesting that your information is all inaccurate. What I am suggesting is we take a time out, collect the pieces of information, and then understand why specific significant gaps were there in the process. And let's go back through this process again and do it the right way. I'll pause by saying, please, please do not vote for this on the 24th without giving it the due consideration. Walk in our shoes. Spend some time in our neighborhood. Swing by when the school is open. Get stuck in traffic. And please walk in our shoes before you make a call. I know that the investors would love to show awesome pictures. They look beautiful until you're there and you're going, and we get it. So with that, thank you.
Could you and Joe fill out some of the forms?
Absolutely.
And then just leave them with the clerk here so we have a record. All right, thank y'all. All right, next up is our consent agenda. A is a list of all the minutes from the meetings there. B is the budget ordinance number 9 amendment. C is the budget ordinance number 10. We got copies of that. Then the auditors company audit contract is in here. And then David, you want to pull out municipal clerks week resolution and public works week proclamation.
Yes.
As put those on as a regular agenda item. So why don't we make those 2, D, and E. And then we have G, the resolution to allow Indian Trail 5K through a portion of the town of Stallings. And they went and asked for this last year. They contacted the town. So any concerns about anything else on the consent agenda, on the minutes, anything that needs to be amended? Added, deleted? All right, can I get a motion, please?
Approve the consent agenda with removing items E and F and putting those on the regular agenda as item 2, D, and E.
Motion by Ms. Paxton, second by Mr. Shaw, all in favor? And that's unanimous. All right. First up is reports. So mine is, I did hear from Dean Arp, our hotel tax is moving forward with no opposition. So Stallings should have it in another month or 2. He didn't have a timeline on it, but so we'll have some revenue for what is it?
Tourism.
Tourism, yes, tourism. All right, that's all I had. Ms. Paxton?
Couple of things, I just want to let the council know the Citizens Academy concluded on May the 20th. We did provide certificates to all the members who have participated in that. This is a notebook that includes all of the agendas and the feedback from all the sessions that I'm going to leave with the staff, so that if this program is repeated, there will be a lot of work done. We'll have to do it again. Got really good feedback from that, and the recommendation was that we should do it again, not wait a full year, but maybe do it during the winter months when maybe people are more likely to attend, but essentially the same format. We had excellent speakers. I was sometimes a little dismayed that we didn't have a bigger group, so I would recommend that when we provide this again, we do not actually put it on unless we have at least 20 to 25 members, because it's really unfair to bring all those experts in for a few people, a handful of people. So that, I think it went well. It was very well received, but it was disappointing that we didn't have more people participate. And then the second thing I wanted to share is that, actually, I have a microphone here. I did participate in the Carpo retreat last Thursday and Friday, and that was an excellent opportunity for the members of the board to come together and do some planning and discussing. We had some consultants come in, and it was interesting to me. I know we fuss a lot about transportation and about the Carpo process, but some of the consultants who were there said that the model we use here in North Carolina is actually being copied in other places, because with the strategic investment, strategic transportation investment law that was put in place in 2013, where everything that is approved is gone through a prioritization process that's data-driven. There's no more decisions being made in Smithfield back routes. It's all prioritized with data, and that model is being copied in a lot of other places. So I thought that was a positive thing. The other thing that really came out of that was a strong support with the delegates there to do some kind of advocacy with NCDOT, because we had some discussion about super streets, which are now being referred to as reduced conflict intersections, but that is happening in a lot of places, and people are not happy in other places either. So I think we'll see some additional support through the delegate board there to work with DOT to get some better response there. And that's my report.
Well, I read that thing about the reduced conflict intersections. I thought that was what we would call roundabouts, but they call it super street that as well.
I don't think they're referring to the roundabout as a reduced conflict. I think it's the super street, because the super streets have gotten such a bad rap. They want a different name for it. And it does reduce the points of conflict. There's no question about that.
Thank you. Mr. Martin?
Just a quick update. We had another IMUS meeting, which is Intermunicipality Information Sharing. It's an informal group of us elected officials getting together with various Union County, other Union County elected officials. Talked about some of the challenges. Again, we're trying to look at how we can better partner together in some of the regional planning. There's no formal methodology in place today to force the communities to partner together and plan together. So historically, that's resulted in some disjointed development that was referred to earlier today, Mr. Dunn. Looking to see what we can do there. I know some of the towns have looked at ETJs with each other. That's something we're going to continue to flesh out. Additionally, the various municipalities all share continuing frustrations with the inability to get return on our tax dollars with traffic infrastructure projects. North Carolina, the local municipalities have no control over the majority of the road through our neighborhoods. So, or through the major corridors through our towns, I should rather say. So, Mr. Dunn, you referenced earlier the concern with Matthews, Weddington, and Chestnut. That's owned by NCDOT. And I can point to various other examples very similar to that throughout western Union County that are overstressed. But Carpo has been unable to return those tax dollars to Union County, to western Union County so far to date. So we're discussing how we can better partner and change that. Thanks.
Mr. Sherman?
A couple weeks ago, time's flying, I can't remember what the exact date was, but went up to City Vision up in Hickory for the North Carolina League of Municipalities. Went to a bunch of sessions that they had, networked with a lot of people, and came home with some ideas and thoughts. And it seems that some common issues, not thought it was just us, but it's fairly common. Municipalities across the state are dealing with planning and zoning issues. Some are growing, they're happier than the ones who are not growing. So planning and zoning, one way or the other, is a big issue. Second one is social media, communication, and websites. How do you get the word out? How do you keep the communities informed? Timely topics for as we have too. So it was interesting to hear other people's solutions and not so much solutions, but everyone's figuring out how to do this. So we're not the only ones in this boat dealing with issues. There's a lot of other folks around the state as well. So I got some names of folks to chat with.
All right, appreciate you going. Steve? All right, Alex?
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to kind of share some observations with the council. I had sent out a memo on the development agreement process, and you know, we're seeing a lot more applications lately than we originally anticipated. I think the end result has been a bottleneck in the subcommittee going through the process. Specifically getting a time that works for everyone is a big challenge. So that's been a challenge, as we can all see it. Another challenge has been the subcommittee meeting by design has not included everyone in the town council. And what I've observed is other council members asking me for information about the process and to attend subcommittee meetings at various times. And my observation has been everybody's kind of not operating at the same level of information at that time. So there's some, I think, advantages of doing like that, but there are also some disadvantages. One of the things I try to do as town manager is provide the board with everybody gets the same information at the same time, even for silly stuff at sometimes, because it's important, because information is power. Information, if we're operating at different levels, we can create challenges, and I think that's created some unnecessary confusion and at times conflict. So to make the DA process more efficient and effective, I have several ideas for your consideration. The first, we talked about this a little bit last time, set kind of a standard time for subcommittee meetings so that everybody can kind of just pencil that in. They say, all right, these are the regular times. We would suggest 5 p.m., second and fourth. Mondays of every month with council meetings. Or you could do it 4 times a month. I've kind of gotten a chart there for you all to see just how that might work. Again, those aren't actual dates, so please don't show up to those meetings, but just what would it look like if we did it twice a month with that second and fourth Monday versus, David, do you have a copy?
It's in my
Okay. And then option 2, what it would look like if we did it kind of every Monday. That's obviously a much greater time commitment for everyone. And then we've had several larger projects, Atrium, for example, where there's been a need for more than one meeting. In those cases, I would suggest the participation just before they leave the meeting that day, scheduling the next date so that everybody's on the same page. We've got a date that works for everyone. And then potentially change the ordinance so the subcommittee meeting includes all council members. You know, there's some pros and cons with both sides of that approach. But just something I would suggest to you all. Happy to just answer the questions, or if we just want to keep moving, I understand that. But we want to share those ideas with you all so that you can take them into consideration as we move forward. Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you want some feedback tonight, but since we just got it tonight, but if anybody wants to comment on it now, but otherwise we'll just contact individually, let you know what we're thinking. Make a decision on the 24th.
Would you like me to put it on the agenda for the 24th? Okay.
And that way Billy and, I don't know if Debbie will be here or not, I don't know what her schedule is.
She's just on vacation.
You know, just, I'd like the second, fourth Monday, and I was going through that last time. Doing every Monday, like we did. deal. That way, second and fourth can slow down, make sure we get it right.
Sure.
But,
How does that sound? Can we go ahead and start scheduling those for the second?
no, let's vote on the 24th, let the whole council weigh in, that was my 2 cents. I mean, don't stop your process now with Adrian and Souls.
So just kind of proceed as is, just trying to schedule dates that work for everybody in the meantime. Sounds good. Thank you.
Maybe I'll add something to my report.
Sure.
I don't know how I forgot to mention this, but I sent you all a copy of the letter that NCDOT had sent to Indian Trail after they removed the 10 million that they were going to put toward the Old Monroe Road widening. And there has not been any change. The GCC did meet last week, and they supported the subcommittee's recommendations to either seek some gap funding for Parkville or to delay the construction of that segment through Indian Trail, which is considered, forgotten the numbers, but it's the B section. And that would mean that the project would have to be reprioritized again through 6.0, which is just about to be released. And it would delay construction until 2026, I believe. It does not affect our segment of the road, but of course concerns with the whole corridor, not just through Stallings. Scott Cole sent me an email today or a text today and said that he and David Wasserman are meeting with the council and Indian Trail tomorrow night for their regular council meeting, and they'll be discussing that. So if anybody's interested in going there, they meet at 7 o'clock tomorrow night.
Well, you remember, didn't DOT ask us for a decision on what our thoughts were, which option we prefer?
I don't think they were asking us for an opinion. I'm happy to make one. If the council wants to weigh in on that, because I will have to vote on it. I'll send next week.
It's on the agenda for.
It will be on this month's agenda, yes.
And what was the vote be for?
Number 2, to provide gap funding, which would mean pulling money from other projects to support the Section B of the Monroe Road corridor, or to delay that segment of the corridor until a later date.
Yeah. No, go finish it.
I was gonna ask, do you know what projects it could be pulled from?
I do not know.
But the second option would delay construction.
Just that section?
Just for that
Not
segment.
just that segment.
And I know council in Indian Trail has been having a lot of informal discussion among themselves. I don't know that they've made any kind of decision, and the manager asked that that not be discussed at the Parkville County level meeting today. So I'm not sure that they're coming down on that. Things get really kind of threw them apart when DOT said they were going to delay it.
Well, which way are you leaning? What's your recommendation?
I think if they don't come back with the money, they should have to suffer the consequence, which is to have their segment delayed. That would be my vote. I'm voting just for me.
I agree.
Right?
I kind of agree with you, because I don't think we should be punished because we even wait for this quarter to be approved in any way
Yeah.
for so long.
Well, and the other point about the 10 million is that that was something that was volunteer. DOT did not go to them and ask for 10 million. I know it was a decision that was made by a previous council, and this council has a different view, but it was pretty binding agreement that they made, and now they are reneging on that agreement. So, yeah, I think if they don't come back with the money, we get our segment and they get theirs in 2026.
All right. Are we in a consensus in here? John, is that David? All right. All right. Thank you, Linda. Anything else, Alex?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Ms. Cox, you got anything for us tonight? Okay. And any other departments? Nothing? All right. Presentation. All right. Thank you. So next up is 2D in municipal clerks week resolution. And our clerk is not here. She's in Texas at a tournament with her daughter. But we got a great clerk, just to let y'all know. She's I don't know how many years she's been here, but, since '08, yeah, so 11 years. So, we're lucky to have her, Erin Nichols. And so it's the 50th anniversary of Municipal Clerks Week, June 9th to the 16th. And I'll go ahead and read this into the record. Anybody else has any comments, feel free to enter them into the record. Whereas the office of the municipal clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world. And whereas the office of the municipal clerk is among the oldest public servants, and whereas the office of municipal clerk provides a professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies and agencies of government at other levels, and whereas municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all, and whereas the municipal clerk serves as the information center on functions of local government and community. Now therefore, the Stallings Town Council hereby resolves to recognize the week of June 9th through June 16th, 2019 as Municipal Clerks Week, and further extend appreciation to our municipal clerk, Erin Nichols, for her dedication and her professionalism. So, can I get a motion on this?
So moved.
All right. And second by Mr. Martin. And all in favor? And that's unanimous. And then anybody have any comments on this proclamation?
Aaron's great.
All right.
Happy to work with her.
And next up is our proclamation for Public Works Week. It's June 17th through the 21st of 2019. Does anybody want to read that? You don't want me to?
You got it there.
All right, whereas public works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and to the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of Stallings. And whereas these infrastructure, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works professionals who are engineers, managers, and employees who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our transportation, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential for our citizens. And whereas it is in the public interest for the citizens, civic leaders, and children of the town of Stallings to gain knowledge of and to maintain progressive interest and understanding of the importance of public works and public works programs in their community. And whereas the year 2019 marks the 59th annual National Public Works Week, now, therefore, I, Mayor White, do hereby proclaim June 17th through the 21st, 2019 as Public Works Week in the town of Stallings, and call upon all our citizens to pay tribute to our public works professionals, engineers, managers, and employees to recognize the substantial contributions they make to protecting our health, safety, and quality of life. And again, we do Richard Tanner, who was a former Stallings council. We used to have one guy doing all the public work, but he retired, and it's too much for one guy. So for the town of Stallings, a lot of things have been added, and we got a great public works department now, and certainly do appreciate that. So can I get a motion to adopt this proclamation? Motion by Ms. Paxton, second by Ms. Steele. All in favor? And that's unanimous. All right. Thank you all. The agenda approval, any additions or deletions? All right, can I get a motion to adopt the agenda as written?
Yeah, I'll make the motion to adopt the agenda.
Motion by Ms. Steele, second by Mr. Martin. All in favor? All right, that's unanimous. All right, first up is the 2019-2020 budget hearing, and I'll open the public hearing. All right, Marcia.
I'm just gonna put the ordinance up here.
And there's no changes in what you gave us tonight versus what was in the binder?
Correct. Well, there are two, sorry. I apologize. I put the changes on there. There were, at the last meeting, when we had our CMIP meeting, there were two items that council suggested or asked that we put on the budget. They were taken out of the contingency number. One was for the water tower painting, which was $10,000, and the other was $20,000 for the downstairs entries to be key fobbed as the new building will be. So I took those out of the contingency number, and they are now the contingency went down $30,000. It's at $18,500, I believe. And someone closed all of my items.
But the total stayed the same.
Yes, it did. It just the total budget went up, so I apologize. So the items that change would be here. It would be that general government line, it went up $20,000, so it went from $1,110,500 and added 20 to make it 30,000. And then on the transportation line, it went up 10,000. It was at 724,100. Is there any other questions about this? I don't know if you wanted me to go through the entire budget.
No, ma'am.
But let me put this in a vote.
Well, this is a public hearing. We start this process in March. So here it is, 1st of June. And I know a lot of talk has been talking about the apartment complexes, how we need to be more transparent and let the community what's going on. So we do this, we start in March, and we hold a lot of meetings, and they're all publicized. And so if you want to learn what's going on in the town and how we spend every dime of our tax money, you're welcome to attend any of those meetings. So I don't know how many we probably had 8 to 10 meetings. So does anybody have any comments? This is a public hearing. It's open to the public to speak on the budget. So it's online. If you want to review it, if you have any questions, email any of us, town manager, or finance officer, anybody. So, all right, Alex, I'll turn it over to you now.
What's that? We'll go back out of the public hearing. You want me to submit my comments? Okay, sounds good. Thank you, sir. So we've talked a lot about how when it comes to surprises, they're for engagements and not for town council meetings. And I hope that rings true with our budget process. Budget's cyclical, but really, I guess if there's a starting point, I would point to our annual retreat as the starting point. I believe it was in January or February this year. And at that retreat, as a council, establishes strategic priorities, and that's the kind of start of how we kind of build our budget. We had 6 specific budget workshop meetings. Of course, we talked about it in a lot more meetings than that, as y'all have indicated. And I'm happy to kind of go through my budget message if you guys would feel appropriate. Okay. So in comparison, moving to the general fund, in comparison to our current fiscal year, revenues are projected to increase by about 0.8%. It's about $68,000. However, fund balance appropriations are removed from the equation. I'd like to kind of remove that. I feel like it gives us a better idea of where we're at. Budget revenues increased by approximately $12,000, about 0.2%. So when we budget for our revenues, we're fiscally conservative in our estimates. We don't just slap something on paper. We try to be very conservative in our estimates because we want to come back and say, hey, we've got more money than we thought we would not. We don't have enough. The tax rate is proposed to maintain the same. And we've got a very high collection rate. We've adjusted for 99.98% collection rate, so extremely good collection rate. And overall ad valorem taxes are projected to increase just under 1%, about $31,000. That's our biggest revenue source. Other than that, sales and use tax, franchise utility tax, power bill funding for road maintenance, road sidewalk maintenance, motor vehicle tax, fund balance appropriations, miscellaneous revenues. Those are our largest areas for growth. Specific to growth, the largest areas of budgeted growth for sales and use tax. That's about $60,000, and then investment earnings. Marcia's been doing a great job, and the economy has been going up. So our earnings are coming back higher than they have been in the past, which is good. You've got a breakdown there on page 4 of just the various fee and revenues and how that's looked over the course of, several years there. And you see budget revenues, actual revenues, and proposed revenues. Expenses, it's the same thing. Revenues have to match expenses. They increase by 0.8%. However, if you take out contributions for capital projects and several other things, expenditures actually decrease about 7%. Budget highlights, moving on, personnel costs, including fringe benefits and total costs, increased by about $214,000. We went through a process improvement earlier this year, I believe it was in the fall, determined we thought, at least for the time being, we could eliminate a position, the communication specialist position, and fill those duties amongst other positions. And the cost savings of that was approximately $55,000. Health insurance went up. It's no shock to say that's the trend these days. Health insurance costs are going up. It went up by 15.3%. But as you all know, they went up 0% last year, so it's reasonable if you look over the past 2 years. Workers' compensation renewal premiums decreased by about 5%. That's largely due, I think, to safety initiatives that the town has initiated over the past several years, and the fact that the look-back period we finally dropped off a large claim that we've had, right? Once you get one of these large workers' comp claims, it takes several years typically to lose it. State mandated retirement rates increased for both the local general class and local law enforcement class. That's something that's set by the state. It's not something that we have control over. We talked at length about our pay classification study. That's included in this, and our town's pay policy, which we talked about at length this year and last year. General government, the budget decreases by about $184,000. Outside services increased due to new janitorial services. We redo our contract this year, we were away market there. And then also we've got a new building, several new buildings next door, so having to absorb the cost there. Payroll outsourcing fees, we talked about that, as well as social media archiving services to the public records requirements. Also, we've got an election coming up in November, and the cost is estimated by Reagan County at $13,330. Al, am I going too deep, guys? Not deep enough? Is this sufficient?
Anybody has any questions?
All right, thank you. Public safety, overall, the public safety budget increases by $196,000 approximately. The majority of this increase is personnel costs. And the budget includes funds for the replacement of 3 patrol vehicles with mileage either already at 100,000 miles or approaching that. Patrol vehicles are not like regular vehicles. They're stop-start, especially in the city environment. And it's not like my vehicle that I drive every day. It's got 170,000 miles on it. It's fine. You get for another 30 at least. These vehicles are different. It's just a stop and start, wear and tear on it. So transportation, that's streets and highways, and also power bill. Total transportation budget decreases by $311,200. But there's more to the story than that. There's several primary reasons for the decrease. First, the TIA fees are included at about $88,000 in the current budget. These funds are received from developers when they have an applicable project. The traffic impact analysis is done according to the town standards, and then the developer pays the bill, essentially. Because these projects vary based on the type and number of projects that we have, we don't know how much it's going to be very widely. We just budget for them to do a budget at the end of the year, and we know how many we're getting in. So that's a little inaccurate, even though there's a big difference there. There's a reason for that difference. The second reason is the council previously approved a $76,000 budget amendment for the Chestnut sidewalk project for some enhancements that the property owner they're requested and will be approved. And then the third was last year the council opted to budget $168,000 for potential transportation streetscape improvements as determined by the council. Some of those items we're still waiting on, some of those things we've accomplished. It's just various. For example, the Idlewild streetscape enhancements, we're still wrangling the DOT there. But the incorporating the TIA into the development process and placing the town logo on the water tower. We kind of talked about those and those are set. Some of them like Monroe bypass enhancements, we're still waiting on some information on DOTs. Some of those things have been resolved, some of them hasn't. And that was the reason for that. And then fourth, the 18-19 budget included $25,000 for replacing all town street signs with a logo version, which as you all know we're in the process of doing. So that's the reason for the decrease. Then also we budgeted $10,000 towards the town's contribution towards Union County's critical intersection analysis. That'll go towards hopefully showing and articulating and helping to get funding for a lot of the critical intersections within the town. Yeah, hopefully that'll work. That's part of one of the council's commitment for getting more funding from CRTPO. We also signed an agreement with NCDOT to contribute $350,000 to upgrade the Chestnut Matthews Weddington Road roundabout project, which will increase the planned roundabout's capacity. As you all know, the DOT was going to put in a roundabout. We said, hey, we don't think that's good enough. So the council stepped up and said, hey, we're willing to contribute $350,000 to add some additional slip lanes for the Chestnut Matthews Weddington Road roundabout project. Including in this budget is $68,000, $350,000. We think it's possible, we could be required to put it all in the next fiscal year, but as best we can estimate, we'll say $68,000 for next year. $400,000 is included to resurface and maintain the town streets and sidewalks. We've got scheduled to resurface 12 streets totaling approximately 0.85 miles next year. The town, as you know, total street mileage is 53.23 miles. Each year, the town engineers assess and quantitatively determine the streets with the greatest resurfacing needs using an engineering methodology originally developed by the Army Corps of Engineers. Using this evaluation, finding is applied to streets deemed to be in the worst condition. Using this framework, the town can confidently state that it is resurfacing roads based on the greatest need. Throughout the budget workshops, we saw how the average street condition level quantitatively is increasing. This is working, and hopefully next year we're going to be getting up street conditions to a point where nothing is needing to be fixed. Environmental sanitation, this is track. This is our sanitation budget. The increase is due to the CPI rate stated in our contract, the rising number of services, and ongoing negotiations regarding the recycling situation. If I'm going over to anything too fast, still good? Keep on rolling? Okay. The next thing is planning and zoning. The planning and zoning budget decreases by approximately $107,000. The town council is placed a heavy priority in pursuing economic development projects to enhance quality of life. As a result, prior year budgets have included funding for a number of small area plans, and those have been completed. And so there's a primary reason for the overall decrease. The primary focus of the fiscal year 1920 budget is just really working to make those plans a reality, and then also it includes funding for town monumentation, greenway signage, construction documents, and update the website with the new small area plans. Public Works, the total Public Works budget decreases by about $9,200. Not a shock, but we're moving to a new facility next year. Includes $10,000 in expenditures to upfit the new building, garage, heavy-duty shelves, things like that. And then also funds to purchase various equipment that we talked about, wood chipper, or trimming, saving equipment, that kind of thing. Parks and Recreation, also known as Cultural and Recreation, decreases by $191,000. Will move into their permanent temporary new location when the new town hall project is completed, giving them more limited space for programming caused by the building construction. As we talked about, this budget proposes a more enhanced focus on special events versus the programming side of things. Parks and recreation programs are growing in popularity, but at the same time we're a victim of our own success. As you all know, we've had some parking issues in this area. Due to great events that a lot of people want to come to, there's insufficient parking. In the past, we've used area lots for local businesses, but for this fiscal year, this proposal budgets $12,000 for shuttle services for major town events to make the process more efficient. Ashley and her team have been working on kind of setting that up. And also funding to purchase land to support events and operations. See on the next page there, an expenditure report showing cycle revenues, various levels over the course of several years, current, projected, and then also proposed. So any questions I might be able to answer? Stormwater funds, we operate enterprise fund, it's a stormwater utility fund, and it's funded by the stormwater fees that are paid by our residents and property owners. Proposal recommends keeping the stormwater rate unchanged, and which generates approximately $500,000 in revenue annually. These revenues will allow us to continue inspections and maintain our stormwater system, to continue to meet the standards of our stormwater program. Notably, the town's goal is to maintain a fund balance of at least $1 million, so that if there is a large stormwater emergency, the idea was, well, we budgeted for 2 of those. The stormwater projects, as you all know, can get experienced very quickly. For 1920, one difference that you may see is we've reallocated $80,000 for more reactive services to try to be more proactive, including kind of street sweeping, to try to reduce blockages and also vacuum the stormwater basins. So we've talked about that. Also, we've included a fund balance appropriation for $208,000 for the new town hall and public works facility capital project for construction of the underground stormwater detention area. That is stormwater. Any questions or comments or concerns? Capital project fund, Potter and Pleasant Plains. Nothing new here. These again improvements. Again, intersection of Potter Road and Pleasant Plains Road. The town said similar to Chestnut and Matthews Reddington Trail. The proposal schedule that DOT's got for this intersection. It's not quick enough. It's not good enough. So the staff, or excuse me, the town council and staff worked with our partners to increase the timeline on this project. And long story short, part of the right of way and funds for the construction will come from town of Stallings, NC DOT, and county. Total budget for the project is $3.5 million, with about 1.767 spent on right of way acquisition and engineering design services. 1.7 is included in the budget proposal for construction. The town will make the initial payments on the project, reimbursements from NC DOT and Union County. We haven't gotten to that check from DOT yet, but what's that? They said we should get it by the end of the week. First thing I'm going to do when I get that check, I'm going to do like a push pop. I'm going to breathe, and then I'm going to email you guys and let us know we got that check.
Did the bank fast before promises?
Sir. I hope we'll cash it that day. So new town hall and public works facility, the town adopted a capital project ordinance in February 2019 for this project. The total project budget for construction furnishing is approximately $3.4 million, and revenue by the first of the year. We'll have a new building I think we can all be proud of. We'll have a lot better opportunities for broadcasting. We'll have the wire hanging down from the projector. It'll be a lot better building. Financing was negotiated with BB&T. We've got a 10-year term on the loan, and ultimately the long-term plan is to take funds received back from the Potter Pleasant Plains project to pay off the bulk of this kind of debt service. Although I believe, Marcia, it's a 3-year moratorium before we can do that.
Correct.
Thank you.
And without a prepayment penalty.
Yes. And the budget proposal includes $98,000 for interest on the debt service and $292,000 for the first principal payment, which is due in March of 2020. And as Marcia said, the budget message, the only really thing that changed, because I submitted this prior to our last budget meeting, was the $10,000 for the water tower there, and the $20,000 for the new updated security doors and the key fob. I want to take a brief moment in closing to thank the council for all your willingness to kind of meet over the course of several budget meetings and really invest. I think a lot of times you see budget processes at other places that are controversial, and that's not to say there wasn't conflict and disagreement as we went through the process. There was, but I commend you guys for your respect and so that. I thank the staff for all your contributions. Started our side of things back in January with getting this together, and I want to really recognize Marcia for all the hard work that she does. She makes it look easy. So that's all I've got to say. Happy to answer any questions.
All right, any questions for Alex and Marcia? All right, it's still a public hearing. Does any citizen have any comments or questions that further enough? But all this is online. The thing I want you to, I know y'all can't attend all these meetings that we have, but two things that need to be pointed out. It's $999,000 for our recycling and our trash program. But as Alex mentioned, we have a issue with our recycling program, and the providers are trying to charge us more because they're being charged more. So we might change our recycling program for next year. And if we do, we need to have an extensive education program on how it changes, because everybody's used to, the current one has been in place for a lot of years. So be aware of that. And you might not know that we do have that stormwater issue that comes in on your tax bill. We have a lot of money set aside for stormwater issues. So if you see an issue in town, call the town, let us know about it, and our engineer will go out there and check it out. So, and then also the capital improvement plan. If you want to see what the long-range 3 to 5 year plan is for big projects, we have a capital improvement plan online. And, it's in this budget message. So that's, just ways you can learn how your money is being spent. So, that's just a way to keep you on informed of what's going on. So, and I like what Alex said. Alex, thank you, and Marcia for your leadership, and appreciate all the work y'all done on this. So, any comments from council? All right, I'll close the public hearing, and then I'll take a motion.
Which way are you going? Because I got the beauty and the age. I make the motion to adopt the 2019-2020 budget ordinance for the town of Stallings.
Motion by Mr. Scholl, second by Mr. Martin. All in favor? Raise your hand. All right, that's unanimous. Thank you all. All right, thank you, Alex, Marcia. All right, next up is the Greenway RFQ. So Eric's here, and is it just you, Eric?
It's just me.
Oh, I didn't know if Lynn or Alex had anything you wanted to talk about.
Alex, you want to open this up? Sure, I'm happy to provide background. So the town has a Greenway plan, which you all know, adopted. The developer of the Vickery subdivision previously donated property to the town to be developed as kind of a town trail. And during the budget process last year, the council approved funding for the greenway design on that specific Vickery area. And previously, we went through the RFQ process and selected destination by design as the best qualified firm, which is the standard we use when it comes to picking kind of engineering and architectural services required by law. And last time we kind of met, and the town council considered the $63,000 design contract and asked for kind of a breakdown. Eric was kind enough to give us that. And Eric is the principal and owner, Eric Woolridge. We've worked with a lot over the past several years. Prepared kind of some information for the water review, and he's been kind enough to join us to answer questions directly about the contract. And so here we are.
All right. Yeah, we got your proposal, and the consensus on the council was $63,000 for a half a mile, basically a half a mile stretch. So $63,000 is probably the salary of one of our employees or close to it.
Sure.
So we just thought it was a bit much, so thank you for breaking that down. And so I saw the breakdown. And it had 416 hours and $63,000. That's $567,000 per hour. I totaled up your hours. It's estimated hours, and it came up to 416 hours.
Really?
So I hate to put you on the spot.
I wish we made that an hour. The hourly rate should be 150, and that's inclusive of all of our travel, insurances, and everything.
Well, I just added up what was on the right.
So, are you forgetting the lump sum? Because the 8,200 for the surveying is a complete lump sum. So there's not an hourly tied to that.
Yeah, no, I didn't have, there wasn't any hours there, so it's 8,200.
So that's 8,200
So
of
that's
it
probably
there.
60 more hours, because it's almost half of the preliminary design there, wouldn't you say? So 60 more hours?
Yeah, pursue the math real quick.
If you added what?
I took out the 8,200, the 63.
You get 131 an hour.
So if you took out,
Yeah, but I know the lump sum in there kind of throws a little bit of a curveball at you.
so if you take out 63,200 from 63,000, now you had 54,800 divided by 416 hours. That becomes a 131. All right. So now we're.
Now I'm more in line.
Now you're in line.
I know, and I know it's not a long section, but it's not necessarily a not complex section. If you look at items number 2, the preliminary design, item number 6, the getting us to 90% design, and then item number 10, the final bid, documentation and preparation, you know, those kind of add up like the core engineering elements. But then on top of that, we've got Union County in terms of their sewer system that's there. We have NCDOT, because we're going to actually design the crossing over to Blair Mill Park. We also have agreed, as you guys know, during the Greenway Master Plan to go and meet with the Vickery neighborhood. So I have budgeted for a couple of us to have 2 meetings with them and to address their concerns, emails. If I have to meet with them 4 times, we're not going to charge you guys anymore. You know, but so there's another element there, and then the staff coordination piece we put in there for 36 hours, and it's not a linear process. I mean, we're going to be meeting with staff throughout the entire thing, so that's meant for the beginning, middle, end, all the way through the whole process. We kind of spread those. So item 5 would technically be spread throughout the entire thing. So I wish it was simpler. I wish that. The other factor is just the liability associated with anything like this. Whenever we stamp something, you know, the errors and omissions insurance and things like that that we carry. But You know, I've tried to talk to Chris, like, up front, like, we want to provide you guys with a great value here in terms of engineering. Honestly, we think a lot of engineering rates in this region are extensive. We're a 10, 12 person firm. We just don't have that type of overhead, but we do have to cover our cost, obviously. So that's my best stab at this. You also see with the Vickery piece, they do have a stormwater management issue there that I think that we can help mitigate when we do the Greenway design construction. We also committed to them designing either berms, fencing, or other plantings. So there's a design element to that. So there's a few things that are increasing some cost, but I think it's going to create a very nice product for the people of the new Idlewild development, and then to get people from the park up there, and then vice versa. So that's our best stab at it.
So I apologize, it was operator error on the first.
Oh, no problem. No, the lump sum there definitely messes up the hours. So.
All right, any questions for Eric? Any questions for staff on this issue? All right.
We're good.
All right, what's the pleasure of the council?
I would make a motion that we approve the Greenway engineering costs contract, give the explanation. That's all it must be.
Motion by Mr. Martin, second by Mr. Scholl to approve the engineering contract from Destination by Design. All in favor? And that's unanimous. All right, thanks for coming out, Eric. Look forward to helping out with, you're right, Vickery does have a problem with flooding. And,
yeah.
So look forward to any solution we can provide for them.
Yep. And with your permission, I'll probably be sending them an email, and maybe I'll CC Lynn and Alex on it, just to let them know that we're working on this. Our first step, though, will be to obtain the survey. And so there will be people out in the field, hopefully within the next month or so, but then it will be a little while. I anticipate 3 months or so, well, depending on how quickly we get the survey, 3 months or so, we should have some preliminary design, and that's when we'll go and meet with the neighborhood. But first we'll meet with staff here, of course, first.
All right.
I appreciate it. Yes.
Thank you for coming out, Eric.
Mayor, if I may, one of the things we talked about during last Monday is Greenway grants and things like that. And told you, Derek here, you could hit him up with some questions for Greenway grant funding and that kind of thing. If you want, we can keep rolling, but.
We'll let your staff talk to them.
Okay, sounds good.
They're good at that. All right, next up is our committee action. So we have a Park and Rec Committee youth member application. Mr. Thomas Ayers. Hey there. How y'all doing tonight? And let's see. Did you want to make any comments, Thomas?
No.
We have a 5-minute speech.
Where do you go to school?
Central Academy, Technology and Arts.
Right. Well, thanks for volunteering there. So does anybody have any questions for Thomas or Master?
I'd just like to thank him for applying, because I think having a youth representative on that committee is very valuable. So thank you for your interest and get involved.
Is he the second youth? Was Thomas the first? Thomas was the first. So we had other youth.
This Tom's
All right. Well, can I get a motion?
I'd like to move to approve Thomas Ayers as the youth member of the Parks and Recreation Committee.
All right, a motion by Ms. Paxton, second by Mr. Martin to approve Thomas Ayers for the youth position on Park and Rec. All in favor? And that's unanimous. All right, thank y'all. Thank you for volunteering. Next up is the Historical Committee Liaison Replacement. And Jill, did you want to make any comments? Or just,
We're just without one.
maybe this was that one.
Yeah, it's Kathy Heisey.
So,
See, we do it the way I do it in church.
yeah.
You're not here.
No, really, yeah. He doesn't, I was telling Shauna, he doesn't have any committee assignment right now. And so this would be a good learning experience.
How do you take Kathy's spot and take Kathy's place?
If it doesn't work out, let us know.
If it doesn't work out, you can.
All right, do we need another motion? Or, do we need another motion or we just sound? Yeah, it's just a consensus, everybody okay with Billy Bird? Liaison, yeah, we don't know. All right. Well, he's sick tonight. That's why he's not here.
Even sick now.
Yeah. No, this committee has done a lot of work in a short period of time. They've been up, so if you're interested in the history, all it's downstairs on the first floor. And then we open up our new town hall in January, and we'll have a whole section for that. So exciting stuff that they're bringing here for keeping the history alive of Stallings since the beginning, not since the incorporation, but since the beginning. All righty, parade feasibility study. Well, y'all blew me away with all this data.
It's a lot.
Sure. So a lot of times in college, when we had a group presentation, we'd give the person who maybe wasn't the most able part of the group the first slide, and that person is me. So in all seriousness, I want to thank Mayor Dunn and everyone because we put in a lot of work to kind of do this parade analysis, look forward to kind of a dialogue of how we can kind of address some of the concerns and potentially have something like this in the future. So with that being said, let's get into it. So backing up as we talked during the budget process, one of the goals that was set was potentially having a Christmas parade. And so the first thing we did is, because I know Mayor Dunn was passionate about it, myself and Ashley and the Chief Flower met with Wyatt, just kind of like sat down and had that kind of round table discussion, talked about the goals that he had, what he was seeking to achieve, and the goals were kind of showcase Stallings Park, bring more people from the north side to the park, and bring youth participants, because parents, choir, chorus, band, dance, cheerleaders, etc. will come to wherever their kids are performing. And the son, the young son, I can say that's the truth. I know that my grandkids playing ball, that's the truth too.
I attended many performances or something.
So, what does that look like? What is that practically? And so, we talked with Mayor Dunn and talked as a group about what's the ideal route, kind of set up, time of day. So, we talked about ideally kind of doing it on this road, doing this road, as the vision, and the time of day being the day of the Christmas in the Park event. And so took that, and we had 5 staff meetings after that over the course of several months with myself, administration, our Parks and Rec staff, our police department, as well as we consulted with Chief Moyer with the County Emergency Manager. So we set outset, we kind of identified some potential challenges, and then we set to start really looking at a variety of areas.
So the areas, we broke this into our logistics, staffing, parking, and then the impact on the town and the community. We start with the route. As you can see here, we would stage on Smith Farm Road near CEM, take a left onto Stallings Road, which would take us over the railroad tracks, come past Stallings Park. The parade judging area would be in front of Town Hall. Then the floats would take a right in front of James River and go through that little cut street, dropping off their passengers who can't ride on the floats legally when they head back out. The floats would go further down Campus Ridge Road, make that right to turn back, go to the staging area, and there would be buses in that area, as well for the people who are riding on the walkers to get bused back to the main staging area. And we looked at this event as was requested with the parade leading into the Christmas in the Park event. Meredith said, remember that.
So for Christmas in the Park, it's an all-day event, for me at least, and for the staff. It doesn't start till the afternoon, but you know, we're there in the morning to get everything set up. So having a parade leading into that and having myself, I can't be in two places at once. So it is a crunch. We're having staff issues for getting our parade participants in where they need to be, plus getting our Christmas in the Park event also set up at the time. We've added the timeline here, just kind of a sample of what it looks like when I map out events that I'm doing. So, you know, we get there at 9 o'clock in the morning to get everything set up. Everything, staff and volunteers would arrive later in the morning, whereas at 2 o'clock, our vendors would start setting up in Stallings Park for Christmas in the Park. But at 3:30, the road is closed. No one else can go down where our route's going to be, just because when people start sitting down and getting out of the way. You know, Stallings Park only has 2 bathroom facilities inside the park, and all businesses will mostly be closed that day, so we'll have to get the need for porta potties along the parade route and more in the park just to handle the amount of people that we're expecting for a parade. We'll need more, you know, trash cans and everything else along the streets to get, you know, the cleanup started. You know, if you look at this timeline, it's a 12-hour day from start to finish with event breakup, start up to breakdown.
Then we took the same map with the route and added our logistics on top of it here, just to look at where we would have police officers and what roads would need to be closed down. Meredith mentioned all of those logistics problems that we anticipated encountering, and we took a stab at the amount of staffing based upon consultation with Waxhaw, Indian Trail, Monroe, on how they handle their parades, and I ran it by the emergency management office, and we got some feedback on that. And so our staff plan looks like such. In the parade area, for the actual parade, we need 3 staff to help with pacing of the parade, and 12 volunteers to help with check-in. Usually that's done by a civic organization, Rotary, Lions Club, etc. We would also need, when we added all this up, 20 police or public safety areas there, because we have actually 4 roads on here that are single point access along the parade route, and we have to detour traffic coming up Smith Farm Road, Stallings Road, and at 2 places on Old Monroe. And then, of course, we have our event staff in the park at the same time. That is all of our public works and park and recreation staff. And we actually anticipated pulling 5 people from admin staff to help with that. And we typically have 8 parking volunteers. So what does that look like? The need, the have, and where we sit. As of today, right now, we would need to recruit 36 people in to help with this. The numbers I got from Indian Trail and Waxhaw and Matthews, they're using 30 plus volunteers from their civic organization, and those people, they take all the registrations for the parade, they do the lineup, and they handle the drop-off area as well. So this is just what that would look like, and the 10 public safety officers we would have to hire out of jurisdiction off duty for that.
So for volunteers, we do have a large volunteer base, especially with Grace Academy. But for something like a parade, they all have to be over the age of 18 just for safety purposes. So that's how we lose like half of the volunteers I usually have for events, because they're high school students. So this is the volunteers we have to find over the age of 18 to help with traffic control.
All right, and so you received in your packet the work analysis. the department analysis for Parks and Recreation. I believe you received it in an email previous as well. There is an hourly analysis slide in there where we took the hours of what our department does every year and put it in a monthly form for all of our 3 staff members. The highlighted yellow here is where we accounted for the addition of the parade. Adding the parade into this event, all of our committee agreed that it was on the same level. Creating the parade going into the park event is at the same level as Stallings Fest. So we needed to give it the same kind of attention. It required the same similar amount of hours. So we spaced those out. We did our analysis, and adding the parade event with the event at the Christmas in the Park, it would put our 3 staff members at 120% of available capacity. So we obviously would need to cut back somewhere in order to maintain the amount of events that we're doing. And just for your reference, for our event planning and production overlap, we did a map or a chart here that kind of shows you when we start working on events and how far into the year they carry over. For instance, for the concert series that we're going on now, we started planning in December, writing contracts, recruiting the bands. For Stallings Fest, we started June 1st, and the community wanted us to start in February. So the same thing with our movie series that mimics the concert series. And then we have 2 smaller events we do throughout the year. You can see there that we do the Winter March starting in December, and then our summer one we start in May. We also did a parking inventory, which consisted of us pulling up Google Maps and the satellite view and counting every parking space we could see. There are 240 available at the staging area. That included 140 at CEM and 100 at Stallings United Methodist. The Town Hall Park Hub, you can see all the places listed there. Anywhere from 265 to 475, and that depends on whether or not we can use our grass fields, depending on how the weather is. And then along the route, there are a lot of automotive businesses there that you could park in front of. And then King's Greenhouse has about 40 spots there. So after talking with Indian Trail, they said they see about 6,000 people to 10,000 people at their parade. Those might be event estimator numbers, but we decided we would need about 1,250 to 1,500 parking spots to get people to come. And you have multiple people riding in those vehicles. So we obviously have a parking deficiency. Community impact. This is just a list of the businesses around here that would still be open either during the planning and setup time or during the parade. So you can kind of see here, the biggest one impacted would be the emergency vet clinic, because we would be limiting their accessibility in 2 different ways to get there. Of course, we have traffic detours, the neighborhoods that only have one way in and out, and then the oversaturation of the same type of event in this area. Each place that does a Christmas parade has a very set tradition weekend that they do them. It's always the same weekend, always the same date. So when we looked at this, we were really stuck with putting something right on top of Christmas to pull it off. That first weekend in December is traditionally, taken by another jurisdiction. So we ran into some interesting quandaries there. Do we go ahead and pile on top of it, or do we work with our neighbors and say, hey, this is traditionally your weekend, so we'll do something at a different time. We did that with Stallings Fest. We put Stallings Fest on a specific weekend so it doesn't conflict with other people.
Yeah, because we were going to do this in conjunction with the Christmas tree lighting.
Correct.
We've already set that date of December 7th.
That would be for this year.
Right,
yes.
This year.
Yes, and there is a parade on the same weekend.
Yeah,
and I don't have those notes right in front of me, but I can let you know. Sure about that. Alex?
Because of his Waxhaw, nobody, percentage of people from Stallings going to Waxhaw for parade is minimal.
I think what we run into with the jurisdictions here, a lot of times is a problem with getting the fire department to be able to come on board. Because if it's Indian Trail, obviously we use the same fire department.
Right, yeah, so if it's Waxhaw, I'm not that worried about it, but if it's Indian Trail, which I don't think there's is, so if we can find that out, which one of those
Sure.
is. I know it's not the seven, I don't know which side.
Sure, so as far as budgetary impact, there'd be some additional costs we need to account for. Liability insurance, really personnel costs, extra public safety personnel, street cleanup, portable restrooms, barricade rental, those kind of safety and convenience and support staff, comp time and OT costs for non-public safety staff, and really figuring out where to get additional non-volunteer staff as well. As Meredith said, it can't be in two places at once. Other kind of, I'll call them soft fund costs, bounce houses, things like that. Additional equipment rentals, again, going back to the personnel costs, and additional supplies to support additional people. So those would be budgetary impacts that we need to.
And Indian Trail was on December 1st this year.
So it's either Waxhaw or
Yeah, Hamby Ridge has theirs, and then Matthews has ones as well.
So what we've concluded, basically after all that, is that just the resources, we need more of them. And just with other parades happening, we don't have a high school in our town. They either go to Porter Ridge, Sun Valley, or Chatham. They're all spaced out by Carolina. So big thing about a big part of parade is usually the band. And we won't, some students, they can't reserve every weekend for a parade performance. Businesses in the area who, might be already going to Union County's parade don't really want to do two at once with the same exact thing. We also we have a lack of a civic organization partner. That's a big help when it comes to planning a type of parade of this magnitude. The route challenges and staffing levels itself are also a challenge. Like I said, or like we said, with it being the same kind of level of planning as Stallings Fest, we would have already had to start planning this parade, getting it started months ago if we wanted to have one this December. Because I know it had to happen in the next year or so to get that planning, because for the first year, getting all the float, the sizes of what we want, how much we want, and all that as well. So,
And I just want to end with a statement. This isn't a no to a parade by any means. We need some time to consider other options, especially when it comes to putting on two very large-scale events on the same day. There is a lot to be said about a draw for a parade when you have activities either before or after, but I think that the constraints that puts upon us as a 3-staff member department is, at this point, a little scary to think about. So we'd like to take some time and look at some alternatives or get some ideas about ways that we can meet the same goals without having such a large-scale undertaking, if that makes sense.
Sure. Well, I certainly understand that it's already June, mid-June. Takes a lot of planning. So I appreciate y'all going into the detailed analysis of this. And what I'd like council to do is just, as we start planning for next year, as Ashley and Meredith said, they have a lot of activities on already planned. So we need to set the priority of what those activities are. Some that are more priority, is a parade a bigger priority than this one. One of the things I always curious about is Stallings Fest is what percentage of Stallings residents attend. And one of the goals is, on the first slide was, this was a part, if we can't get Porter Ridge High School band here or some of their activity, their groups over there in this parade, it would almost, that's my goal, is get the north side people over here, so let them see Stallings Park, see that what's over here, so they can come over here and visit our businesses. enjoy the park. So if we can't get Porter Ridge High School locked up, next year, and David has connections out there, I'm sure he'll hear that.
Put my hands up for it.
Oh, okay, well, go ahead.
I would offer a compromise. The schedule of events starts 5:30 with the mayor comments. I would think, what if we were to look at starting it at, say, 4:30 or 4, and specifically target the Porter Ridge, Metrolina, whoever, school bands or chorus groups we can get to open it up and give them the gazebo, the bandstand. What do we call that?
Amphitheater.
Thank you. I just think it's larger than a gazebo. And give them that. I think that the Porter Ridge has a new band director. This is his first year. I think he's loved the opportunity. I think. Ian's going. This is his first year. Well, it's second year, whatever.
Just to clarify, you're talking about expanding the Christmas in the Park event
Yes,
without a parade?
And skip, well, obviously, you're not doing a parade this year, but what if we considered that option, starting it a little bit earlier, open it up with a band concert, Christmas music theme, band concert with, that would get the other side.
That was the beginning of this past year's Christmas.
And I've always traditionally done a Christmas event in the morning. However, the reason this event is at this time is because it's always gone with the tree lighting. So
Yeah,
we
it's
set
tree
it
lighting.
based upon the time the sun's gonna go down.
So that's why I'm just, if we, not two full events in the same day, but we extended the hours of this one just a little bit, an hour and a half earlier, got those groups some stage time, get those kids and their families down to see, accomplish what we're trying to get.
It's not food vendors, because there's kids, it's got 6 activity buses.
I mean, it's just,
About 200 kids.
it's just an alternative. It would be a way to get, accomplish part of the initial goals without the logistics that we presented very well. It would be pretty damn hard to do. Just get them over there.
Yeah, one of the goals.
Yeah. Just an idea.
Thank you.
Could I just also encourage you all, we've talked off and on about a park ambassador program, and, I didn't realize you couldn't use high school students for something like this, but I think I would really like to see us push hard to get more volunteers to work with our parks committee, so that in the future, if we can put on a parade, we would have some over 18 people to kind of draw upon for that event.
Certainly. We've been workshopping that in our committee meetings.
All righty, well, I think that's what, I realize too, that we can't do it this year, but I appreciate all the work done. This is a blueprint for what we need to do if we're gonna have one next year, but I think David has some great ideas. Let's get the Porter Ridge band over here, so they know where it is, and maybe they'll give us the nod next year.
It could also be the middle school.
Yeah, they got
high school. Maybe they're booked, but the middle school, they probably love
I
having
have
a chance.
contacted, I believe they have a jazz band, kind of like it's like a big band. So I contacted them last year when I first started, but they had already had a contract written. So I was going to try again this year anyway, just because I like little choirs at Christmas anyway. It's not that they.
One of our biggest challenges with that is we have to wait till school's back in session the next year to be able to work on the logistics with that. So we'll be able to come back probably in early September and let you know which groups we've gotten commitments from on that.
All right, any other questions?
They do check their emails over the summer.
And they start
band
band
directors, so
in
the
summer.
band camp starts soon. I'm coaching staff, and I still check my emails because I get stuff. So
It's the administrative approval that we're
They're there
working
too.
on. So.
it's teachers that are enjoying.
David, what was the name of the band director when we found Porter Ridge?
Oh, I can't remember the new guy.
It's
Only
on
been a
their
couple
website.
times. The old one is,
I know.
the old one is.
All right, well, small steps, we're gonna get there. Wow. All right, thank you, Meredith, Ashland. Thank y'all. All right, next up is annexation 52. resolution directing the clerk to investigate a petition received under North Carolina General Statute 168-31 for and this is for A-Rant Northeast Tools. So, anybody have any questions on this? I get a motion.
I make the motion to adopt the resolution directing the clerk to investigate the petition received under NCGS 168-31 annexation 53 for Aaron/Northeast Tools.
Motion by Mr. Martin, second. Ms. Paxton. We need David here to vote. Council says yes. Okay, all in favor? And that's unanimous. So he's in the back. All right, next up is the workshop with the school government consultant to address our recently identified concerns in the development agreement process. Ms. Paxton?
Yes, I had sent council an email not very long ago, just identifying some of the concerns that I think have come forward as we work through some of these development agreements. And I think there have been a fair number of unintended consequences that we did not anticipate, obviously. Probably the first being that we essentially gave away our right to deny a project if there was a project proposal that we did not want to approve. Secondly, I think our process does not allow for a lot of public involvement. When we were doing conditional zoning, we had community meetings prior to the project going to the planning board for review. We don't have a way at this point in time in our development agreement process for the public to be involved. And we've heard from a lot of people that they did not know about these projects that were coming. I think possibly we may be, we've had our attorney tell us that we are meeting the letter of the law, but I think if you consider that the announcement in the Inquirer Journal with a circulation of 105 households in the 28104, 28106, and 28105 zip code, that certainly does not reach the majority of our 15,000 residents in Stallings. So I think we certainly need to look back at that. I think we need to have some discussion about our fee structure, because I think we did increase the fees, but we did not anticipate the amount of time that's required of our staff, of our council, of our attorney. And I mentioned to you in my email that some of the other towns who do this development agreement process actually use a technical review team, a land use attorney, and a planning consultant that the developer pays for. And they do a lot of the preliminary work with the project before it ever gets to a lot of formal review of staff or certainly to a council decision. So I think, we've done a few of these now, and I'm seeing a lot of things that I think we need to go back and revisit. So I had hoped to get some pricing information from David Owens, who is probably the most qualified expert in this area. He's written on developer agreements. He has over 30 years experience with zoning and land use with the School of Government. But I did email him, I called him, and he hasn't responded. I was able to talk with Matt McCarley, who is Charlotte City attorney, who's done a lot of developer agreement work. So he's had extensive experience with that. He does charge $350 an hour. He said he'd be happy to work with us, but he recommended that we might want to go through the School of Government because they could do it for less money. I think Mayor Dunn also reached out to David Owens, and there's another man at the School of Government called Adam Lovelady. I also called him, left him a message, but I'm not sure what these guys are doing, but they haven't returned my calls, and it's been over a week, and he didn't get a response either.
No, I called them both Friday and today, no return calls yet, but keep calling.
Well, I I think probably the most we could do tonight would be to see if there is a willingness among this council to engage with an expert to kind of review some of these issues that are coming out as we work through this process, and then we'll just continue to kind of David Owens and get some pricing on the cost for us to do that.
Would you be okay putting us on for a work session when we have the information available to fully have a full discussion
Of whether or not to do it, or
To
a
do
work
it?
session to.
a work session?
Work through
Well,
some of these
we're
issues.
waiting on information that you don't have.
Right.
I'd like to have that before we go do that, but I don't think a work session is going to be that much further down the road either. By then you should probably have,
I would hope so.
yeah. Would you be okay with that?
Oh, yeah, I'm okay with it. I just don't want us to put this off, because I think the more we continue down the path we're on, the more trouble we're going to get into. And the less, less opportunity we have to fix some of the problems that we realize are inherent in this process the way we're doing it now. So, yeah, we can do a work session. It's possible, I know Mayor Dunn asked at the last meeting if we could do a joint session with the, not the planning board, but with, the Transportation Advisory Committee to look at the TIA again, which is a big part of this process as well. So we might do a work session and do both of those things at once.
Well, John just said the planning board, right, we'll do it, we're gonna do some kind of train us.
Well, the work session wouldn't be for the guy to come and train us. That would be to discuss
Right.
with the details
Yeah,
that
if
we're
we do
waiting
it,
on.
yeah.
But yeah, if we're going to do a training session, we can go bang for the buck.
But that's what I see as the benefit of this. I don't care whether it's development agreements or any other zoning issues, or if it's how we do our financing. Training and education is improvement, is continuing. And nobody knows it all. Certainly we're new to development agreements, and so we've been trained by, Dimitri and Lynn. But there's other things to learn out there, so I'm fully on board with more training, more education, investing my time, and become more aware of what's out there, what we can and can't do with developers. So we'll keep trying to get a hold of these two fellows from School of Government.
Just real quick, just some context. I'm all for additional training, I'm all for some additional understanding. I fully support, and I continually stress that we should have a CBI process here. And a prime example is what you pointed out earlier. I was using the Inquirer Journal. We've been using that since at least 2008. So multiple councils have been using that. So it's nothing new with the developer agreements. It's just the established process that this council before, and the council before that never, thought to work with staff.
Probably since the inception of the town.
Exactly. So, but at the same point in time, I do want to also stress the point that we're not amateurs at this. We spent several years working with consultants, building the developer agreement process, building a comprehensive land use plan, and building the UDO. So I don't want to, put any rest my words tonight. I don't want to add any weight to the perception that we don't know what we're doing. Can we do it better? Absolutely. Have we identified several key ways we can do it better? We can kick around those for 6 weeks and have yet to try to tie them into an ordinance. So I don't want to stop progress, but I do want to make sure we're doing the absolute best we can do. So let's make sure we're on the same page there.
But I would say we have not always only used the Inquirer Journal. I think we, previous years, we advertised in the Charlotte Observer, and I think that possibly also advertised in the County Weekly, and it was being distributed to the households in town, which they don't do. But I think that's probably one of the most critical things, is that we do a better job of notice what we're doing.
Yes. Sure. One other question. With your experience with other municipalities, what are they using? What's required for public notification? And what are other municipalities using?
I mean, it's a newspaper of general circulation. I was involved in the case with Lincoln,
King County, Stanley County, Montgomery County regarding interbasin transfer. And there were pages upon pages written about what is in the newspaper of general circulation. And it's not the number of subscribers. They were more so at the news that's being published. Is it very specific to one industry, you know, for tax professionals, or is it something that's of interest to the entire community? There's like a multi-test they use, but it's not just, the number of subscribers. Wingate probably, I think, uses the Marshall Home News.
There is one.
Marshall newspaper. We use it, I believe it is the Marshall newspaper. I'm sure Marvin uses Inquirer. A lot of it also too has to do with, you know, the expense. There was talk of legislation a couple of years ago to get rid of it entirely. You know, the idea that not a lot of people are reading the hard copies anyway. Can we just do it by either emails, social media, other avenues? But that legislation never took off. I mean, it's a moneymaker for the newspapers. They obviously have an interest with us continuing to do it, but how many people really, read those ads?
And that's the other point. The newspaper readers from the last decade has just dropped off. Nobody, I say nobody, but everybody looks to online anymore. And technology, the walls surrounding technology just haven't caught up. So I want to improve the process as we do, but at the end of the day, not many people over here read the Charlotte Observer, and not many people read the Inquirer Journal. So we're kind of in no man's land, even though we're a substantial chunk of the metro area.
And I don't know the price difference, but I do know the Charlotte Observer is significantly more expensive.
Requirement for half-page ads, that's a lot.
Right.
And that is the requirement for something like that. Well, what I hear is that you'd like to have some additional discussion about this at a possible work session, and we'll try to get the information we need to see what the cost would be to bring them into the buildings.
All right. Will do. All right. Thank you, Linda. All right, that brings us to our closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318, 11A6. Make a motion. Motion by Ms. Paxton, second by Mr. Shaw. All in favor? All right. We're going into closed session, so thank you all for coming out.